Joe Gosnell. Have you ever heard an argument that didn't quite make sense? Maybe it seemed to be overgeneralizing the other side, or maybe the person seemed to be drawing insane conclusions that were just way out there. These are called fallacies, or faulty arguments. According to Lunsford, Ruxowitz, and Walters, who wrote the textbook, Everything's an Argument, fallacies are arguments that are flawed by their very nature or structure. These should mostly be avoided as they raise questions about the ethics and validity of one's argument. There are many different types of argumentative fallacies, but we will only be discussing three today: the slippery slope, the straw man, and the faulty analogy. The slippery slope. According to Dr. Gary N. Curtis, a consultant for an online critical thinking textbook, quote, if A happens, then by a gradual series of small steps through B, C, onto X, Y, eventually Z will happen too. Z should not happen, therefore A should not happen either. Now this argument is commonly used in an attempt to put fear into one's audience so they will listen to your point of view. But however, the events that are described in the slippery slope generally don't make any sense when put together. They don't have anything to do with each other, and are very unlikely, if not impossible. And when the slippery slope is used, it gives an impression that the speaker or author has a moot point, or that they are not informed about the subject. This is due to the fact that what they are saying is usually obviously false, or just doesn't make any logical sense. This could then lead to the validity of your argument being questioned. Now, the slippery slope is generally used in an attempt to put fear in an audience where none really exists. Similarly, the straw man fallacy is used when a speaker or author is underinformed or is losing the argument. According to Bradley Doden, professor at California State University and a contributor to the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the straw man fallacy is when one attaches an easily refuted point that one's opponent never said nor would ever endorse. It can also be when one overgeneralizes their opponent's position to make it easier to undermine. For instance, if one side argues that abortion should be banned because the fetus is a human and they deserve the chance to live, and then the opposing side argues that all you anti-abortionists are the same. You don't respect women and only see them as baby-making machines that have no rights. Women should have the right to choose, and anyone who thinks otherwise is sexist. Now, of course, this is an extreme example, and probably, hopefully, wouldn't actually happen. But it is a good example of overgeneralizing and attaching a false point. The speaker overgeneralizes by saying that all pro-life advocates don't respect women and see them as baby-making machines. While this may be true of a few members of that camp, saying all of them is like that is a fallacy. As shown in this example, using a straw man fallacy can cause you to look like someone who is uninformed or really is unwilling to listen to others' views. This can bring your validity into question, and no one really wants to listen to someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about or wants to listen to the other side. The straw man is used in an attempt to make it easier to undermine the opposition with claims that the opposition never made. Among other ways, this can be done by drawing false comparisons that the opposition never made. This in itself is another fallacy called the faulty analogy. According to Lunsford, Ruxowitz, and Walters, faulty analogies are inaccurate or inconsequential comparisons between objects or consequences, or concepts. These usually start out as true and valid analogies, as 1 equals a number and 2 equals a number, but are then pushed to the fact where they don't make any sense, where as in 1 equals 2, which is not true. Faulty analogies, generally the audience confused because the analogy just doesn't make any sense. As you see here, 1 is obviously not equal to 2. When you do this, the analogy is generally calls your validity into question because you clearly do not know what you're talking about. 1 is not equal to 2. Fallacies, as we can see, these three fallacies, and fallacies in general, usually discredit one's argument. The slippery slope, straw man, and faulty analogy fallacies usually discredit one's argument and can be used to find, but they can be used to find arguments that should be questioned and researched more. So keep an eye out for these and other fallacies to decide whether or not the argument you're reading or hearing deserves your undivided attention or if you should be questioning it. So the next time you hear a politician or activist overgeneralize, make a crazy extrapolation, or make a comparison that doesn't quite make sense, you will know exactly what to call them out on.